Hey, what's up?
It's so funny because I never really get to see that crepe. That was pretty cool.
It's awfully bright in here.
Yeah.
That light back there, like, changed colors.
Oh, it's because that must have added some more. I
There
put
we
an
go.
effect
That's better.
back there.
Want some mood lighting?
Can that thing come down a little bit?
What?
This the ring light.
No, don't fuck with it, because
All right.
it's just, you know what I mean.
Actually, no, it looks good.
Yeah, that's what I... No, I wasn't talking about that light. I was talking about that light.
Oh, okay.
That light changed color.
Right now?
Like a few minutes ago.
Why did it change color?
I don't know.
You didn't tell it to, right?
No, I didn't touch it.
Ghost.
I guess. It does that periodically. It just decides,
Weird.
oh, I'm going to be a different color today.
All right.
So it turned like blue or whatever.
Because I'm looking at the monitor.
Because it was red.
Lighting level looks normal now.
Well, yeah, and that's because I turned the ring light down 2 things, too.
Okay, that's why.
So you know what I mean?
That's what it was.
So yeah, it's a haunting Mondays, as usual on Mondays. Mm-hmm. And this episode, I thought that we had done, because this is this story was also on Paranormal Witness too, right? And I think it was on a couple of other paranormal shows because the guy wrote a book about it. You know what I mean? So I think he made the rounds. And I looked up our past shows, and we did do a show about this case. But it was way back. I think it was episode 76 or something like that. So I figured, why the hell not? We can redo it. The weird thing about this, though, is that on the Wikipedia page, there's a Wikipedia page that's just called List of Haunting Episodes. And on the Wikipedia page, it has this episode listed as House of Horrors. But actually, on the disc itself that we have, and in other places like on IMDb and stuff, it's actually listed as The Haunting of the Allen House. So
yeah, it is true. They said you look like you're wearing a burqa.
I do.
Because of the is it because this thing on the back of your chair, maybe?
Well, I don't know.
That's what it was.
I'm not wearing a burqa.
Yeah,
I'm just wearing a dress with like a high neck. That's all.
And there was a sweater on the back of the chair.
Yeah, that was probably what it was too.
It gave you that damn shape, the burqa shape.
Burqa shape. But yeah, so is Zach the only one here? He's the only one talking.
No, there's people in there.
Okay. I wasn't really sure.
Nah.
So, are you going to help me talk about this episode? You watched it too, right?
Yeah.
We've seen this one a bunch of times.
I've seen this shit a bunch of times, yeah.
We've seen this
it's a
one
good episode.
Danny Rowling said the Smurl haunting case for a Wednesday show would be sick. I thought we already did the Smurl haunting, to be honest with you. And I thought it wasn't that long ago.
Which one was Smurl?
I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure we've done that case before. And I thought we had done it fairly recently. We either did it kind of recently or we did it like a really long time ago.
I know that name.
But this one, like I said, we did talk about the Allen House haunting, but I think it was episode 76, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a long time ago. It was like the first year that we were doing the stuff. Because this case, like I said, the guy, Mark Spencer, who supposedly experienced the shit, wrote a book about it back in 2012. What the hell is it called? I have it written down. A Haunted Love Story, The Ghost of the Allen House. And so he was, like I said, around 2012, he was doing the rounds of all the paranormal shows. So I know that we saw this version, which was on A Haunting, and there was a version that was on Paranormal Witness, and he might have been on another one as well, if I'm not mistaken. So he was just kind of like all over the place. Danny Rowling said, no, we never did the Smurl haunting. He said, but you did review the movie that was about the case, The Haunted from 1991. Okay, well, that's what I was thinking of then. Because I guess we kind of like talked about the real case when we talked about that. But,
I don't remember the episode that much. I remember the name. If somebody were to remind me what was on that episode, I'd remember.
Yeah, it's a pretty famous haunting. So yeah, so this episode right here, season 5, episode 4, is they do like the the flash forward like they usually do, and in this case they always pick out like the most exciting couple minutes. And it was a part where the woman like saw a ghost in the hallway or something. A lot of people seeing apparitions in this one. And the thing about it is that I guess before the couple who are like at the center of this episode, before they even moved in, I guess this house was already kind of famous for being haunted. So I'm not really sure if they claimed not to know it going in. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, well, I mean, they knew it late, like before they bought the house, obviously, because people told them. But I don't know if they knew like specifically before they bought it, and they were like, "Hey, cha-ching," you know what I mean? I'm not saying that. I don't know if they did that. So yeah, so this is Mark and Rebecca Spencer are the name of the couple. So they do this flash forward thing, like with the woman seeing a ghost and all that kind of shit, and then it's like 1 year earlier. You know what I mean? So this happened in 2005 in a place called Monticello, Arkansas. So I guess Mark was, he's a professor. I'm not sure of what, but he'd been working in like universities and stuff for like a really long time, like a couple of decades. And I guess he had been working in Oklahoma, but I guess he got a job in Arkansas. So they were looking around like for a place to live in Arkansas. So they see this mansion, the Allen house, while they're out walking. And they were like, it's really unique. It's actually got quite a beautiful house. You know what I mean? Like, you know, there's pictures of it all over the internet. So you can, it's not a secret. It's pretty famous. So, but yeah, it is actually a really beautiful mansion. It's pretty huge. So they saw it and they got really jazzed about it. And they're like, wow, that's a gorgeous house. And they just said they felt really drawn to it and drawn to the town in general. So the next day, Mark accepts the job in Arkansas that he's been offered. And they go to see the house, and they were like, they really, really wanted it. Apparently, though, something that was stopping them was that somebody already lived in the shit. Like, the house wasn't for sale. You know what I mean? They were just basically, like, walking by, and they're like, we're going to buy that out from underneath whoever lives there. I was like, that's kind of not cool, but whatever. Now, they did say Mark said once he got closer to the house, you know, he's like, it looked really beautiful from far away, but it's like you got close up, and it looks kind of gloomy, and it was a little bit dilapidated. Yeah. And like I said, someone lives there, so he just decided, well, I'm just going to go up and knock on the door and see if I can talk to the person that lives there and maybe talk them into selling it to me or whatever. So the first time he goes up to the house, though, he just goes up to the door and he can hear like a radio playing inside. And he's like, the radio was playing this real scary, like fire and brimstone kind of, you know, kind of the shit that was on the radio in the car in Children of the Corn. You know what I mean? It was like that. It was like that kind of crap. And so he's like, so that freaked him out a little bit because he's like, who the fuck lives in this house that's listening to that kind of shit, like in the middle of the afternoon, which, you know, I understand that. That would be pretty frightening. But as it was, you know, he just heard the radio and like nobody answered the door. And he was like, well, I was kind of glad nobody answered the door because I don't want to know who the fuck was in there listening to this stuff. You know what I mean? So yeah. He's like, I don't know. So he's looking at the house and he's like, look, he tells his wife, he's like, it kind of looks like a money pit, not going to lie. But she was obsessed and she really, really wanted it. So, of course, he's like, okay, well, I guess we have to have it. The house is on North Main Street, by the way. So they decide to go to a realtor that can maybe help them get in touch with the owner and like see what the fuck is going on and all that. Now, the realtor, according to them, straight up told them, oh, the Allen house is haunted. Everybody knows that. It's very famous. And she's like, also, the house isn't for sale. And the woman who lives there would never sell it to you. So I really can't help you in that regard. So at this point, Mark gets kind of curious about the house and starts looking up the history like behind it. So he's like, this house turns up on all kind of paranormal sites. It was built in 1906 by a dude named Joe Lee Allen, who had 3 daughters. One of the daughters was named Liddell, and that was his favorite, apparently. Now, she got married, I guess, at 19 and then moved away, but then got divorced, like, not too long later. So she ended up, like, moving back in with her family, like, into this house. And she very famously committed suicide after her mother's Christmas party one year. And nobody really knew why. So it was kind of like a famous story, like around town, and everyone talked about how creepy the house was. And other people had like seen things, you know what I mean? Like people in the windows and shit like that. So out of the blue, the owner lady actually calls Mark one day and wants to meet with them. She says, well, I'm out of town for several weeks, but when I get back, you know, I'll talk to you guys about it and we'll see what we can sort out. But the weird thing about that is that even though the owner was supposedly not there, and I guess she lived in the house all by herself, she was like kind of an older lady, not old, but she was like a slightly older lady. But Mark and Rebecca like walk past the house, like in the street, and they see a woman like sitting up in the window of like one of the bedrooms, like she's sitting at a desk writing or something like that. And they're like, oh, that must be the owner. She must be back or something like that. But it turns out that when they actually go to meet the owner, they actually go to the house to meet her. The owner says that wasn't her because she just got back and the house should have been empty. So, there was that kind of creepy shit. So they said when they first went in the house, Rebecca said it felt like really magical. They said it wasn't scary or oppressive or nothing like that. They said it actually felt really warm and really welcoming, and they were really into it. And they said, like, the first floor was actually really, really gorgeous. Now, like, the owner said, the second floor needs some work. It's, not in as good a shape as the first floor, but they were like, it was just a beautiful, beautiful house. So when they're giving like the tour of the house, they go up to the master bedroom and they see that window, and Mark says, it's like, oh, you must have like just moved all this stuff in here. He said, because the master bedroom where that window was, where they'd seen the lady from the street, they're like, was just packed full of boxes, and there's like no desk in there. There was like no way anyone could have been sitting in there. So he was like, oh, did you just move all this shit in here like after, because we saw you sitting in the window? And she's like, oh, that wasn't me. She's like, this crap has been in here. I haven't been in this room for like years and years. So she's like, well, you must have just seen the ghost. That's all. And she was like real, kind of chill about it. She's like, yeah, a lot of people saw it. And like when I looked it up on the other paranormal sites, a lot of people did say that they'd seen a woman like in the upper window, like when they walked past and shit like that. So she's like, yeah, this place is haunted. Everybody knows that. She's like, I did have it exorcised though, so it should be safe. And then she also told them, seemed a little weird. You know what I mean? At least like the actress playing her. She said, the ghosts used to talk all the time when I first moved in, but they don't talk so much anymore. So at this point, Mark and Rebecca were just kind of like looking at each other like, okay, crazy lady, like whatever you say. But, they wanted to buy the house. So they were like, well, we were just trying to be polite, even though we thought she was kind of like a weirdo. But then like the lady very surprisingly says, oh, well, I think the house likes you. And I think that God told me to sell the house to you. Like it was some kind of kismet or something. Yeah, like kismet, that, like that you guys... we're drawn here to the specific thing, and I'm supposed to sell to you. That's kind of like, yeah, that's what she said. This thing is driving me crazy, like hanging in the fucking corner of the shit.
I get it.
And I can't move it.
How's that?
Yeah, that's much better. Yeah, that's driving me crazy. Julianne Pope says, a haunting recycling actors again. I recognize the actress who plays Rebecca as Ginger in the Summerwind episode. Yeah, that's right.
It's a regular cast.
Yeah, that's right. They always have like kind of the same people.
Yeah, when you're a fan of the series, you're waiting to see him again.
You're like, hey,
it's that one.
Hey, where's that raccoon guy?
Yeah. It's just a regular cast. They just switch up roles.
Yeah, I'm sure they just have like a stable of actors, and they just use the same ones over and over. You just call them up, you know what I mean? So she's like,
they probably got contracts.
Yeah, and like they probably like do so many like how many episodes they can do. I mean, I'm sure they don't want like the same people turning up every single episode, but
they definitely got regulars.
Yeah, but they definitely have, but they're like, each season you can do 2 episodes or 3 episodes or whatever.
And they also tend to do shit like do shout outs and callbacks to earlier fucking episodes, and they ham it up and shit. If you actually were to take the soundscapes away or the fucking scores, a lot of this shit's fucking funny. You can tell that they're fucking goofing off when they're but it's good. It's good, you know? Especially during the exorcism fucking scenes and shit, I
don't know how they can keep a straight face.
They're
like all the crazy shit they're doing. I rebuke you. I rebuke you.
Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah, I'm rebuking. Okay. It's just very, very silly. So this lady is basically like, yeah, God said that I should sell the house to you, and they're like, okay, fair enough. So soon after that, they actually do buy the house. I don't know what happened to the lady afterward. I guess she just fucked off to Florida or whatever, like they all do when they get old. So then they're like, as soon as we moved in, like we hadn't even finished like renovating or nothing, they're like, all the neighbors started like coming by the house. She said it started out like that was like teenagers, but then it was like adults and shit too. And like they'd come up to the porch and like knock on the door and be like, hey, like we heard that you were letting people come in look at the haunted house. And she's like, where the fuck did you get that idea? We didn't tell anybody.
Made that shit up.
Right. And it's like, well, I guess that everybody was curious about the house, but I guess like the lady that had lived there before like didn't want anybody coming through. I mean, understandably, you don't want a bunch of strangers trooping through your house.
Didn't Hugo want a shirt?
Yeah.
Yeah, Hugo's in there.
Yeah.
Hey, Hugo, if you wanted that Pliskin shirt, I got it.
Yeah, we're just waiting for the address and the monies.
The moolah.
The monies.
Monies. I'll send it to you.
And the monies. Danny Rolling said, smells like roses in here. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I explained that. I explained that. Yeah. Miss Warren would go down to the fucking local fucking mobile gas station and go in there and get that car air freshener. Came in a little Banaka spray cans. Remember those little things? The same with the Banaka came in?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, look, smell. The smell of scent.
We exercised that shit. Boom!
Yeah. Because I explicitly remember that rose was one of the fucking scents when I was a kid that you could buy.
Yeah.
Pine, rose, and other shit. Like musk.
Well, I hope there's not one called other shit.
Yeah, other shit. yeah.
I want the other shit flavor.
Other shit actually just smells like farts. They got people that are like that. They're going to add to the fart smell in the car. That's some fucking wild shit, man.
Maybe they're thinking if my car smells like farts all the time, then it's like I can fart with impunity and like no one can say anything.
By the way,
that's just what my car smells like. I'm sorry.
Yeah. By the way, I didn't fart. Okay. It's this hot new air freshener called other shit. It's not my shit. It's something else. It's another shit. All right. So feel free to let it rip.
Yeah, go to town.
Yeah. Because it's some other shit. It's been the jingle and everything. Feel free to let it rip because it's some other shit.
Not gonna lie, I'd probably buy that.
Yeah. Invented that shit right here on the spot. Make $1 million with that.
Oh man. I kind of feel like that. Well, I don't know. Like maybe the window for that has passed because I do kind of feel like there was kind of a mini boomlet in like making products that were like really gross, like really stinky or really like disgusting.
Yeah, the candy that fucking tasted like boogers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that they still have that now because they have that Harry Potter like that bag of beans that some of it smell like vomit
and earwax and shit.
I'm like, okay, whatever.
Only little kid would like that.
Well, yeah, because little kids are gross.
Yeah.
That's why. Zach says, y'all make a joke, but I still think you could make bank if you invented air fresheners that smell like certain foods or just unusual smells.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen... I think I got my brother for Christmas many years ago. I got him some bacon car air fresheners, and they looked like little strips of bacon, and you hung them from your car thing, and then it smelled like bacon in your car. So I was into that.
I fucking squirt that shit, make it smell like fucking French fries.
Ooh, I'd be down for that. Like, just made the car smell like McDonald's French fries all the time.
KFC. Yeah.
Well, I thought that... I don't know if it was KFC, but I know that one of the fast food places, maybe it was KFC. Yeah. I know one of the fast food places did do like kind of a stunt promo thing where they had like a perfume that smelled like
KFC,
like fried chicken or something like that. I think I'm remembering that right. I know there was one that did. It was one of those kind of like tie-in things, like ooh, we're doing these crazy like products, you know what I mean, to get people to come into KFC. But yeah, so how did we get distracted? What we were talking
about other shit.
Talking about other shit.
Yeah.
And then we went off on a whole tangent.
God, well, it was funny. So
it always happens. It
was funny though. I went down that way. Had this been the '80s, Eddie Murphy would have said some shit like that, made $1 million off of it. Had a whole record album.
I know.
That. Yeah.
Now we just like say
comedy album.
Now we just say funny shit and only like a handful of people hears it.
Yeah, and it passes, and it doesn't even become a cultural thing.
I know, isn't that sad?
Yeah.
We should be much more famous than we are, I feel like.
Because Eddie Murphy shit was funny when you were a kid. You go back and listen to it, you go, oh yeah, we talk like that all the time now.
Yeah.
Okay, but
yeah, I mean it was a big deal back in the day.
Big deal back then, yeah.
Danny Rolling said stuffed peppers scented candles.
Yeah.
That would probably be pretty good too. Well, it smells like maybe like an Italian restaurant, or I know they have pizza ones. I've seen those, and I know they have bacon ones because I've seen those as well. But I don't know about other ones. So yeah. So like I said, you have all these random ass neighbors showing up on the doorstep like, hey, can we come inside? And she's like, absolutely not. I don't know who the fuck you people are. So yeah, she's like, there was just people showing up all the time and they didn't know what to do about it. So they start renovating the place. So Mark is like, you know, he's a professor like at the university or whatever. So he works like 50, 60 hours a week and then comes home and works on the house. So he's like, you know, we were just busy like all the time. Now, he was also real into the attic. Like, he kept being drawn up there like it was all mysterious and everything like that. He said that he found it really fascinating. Like, he loved it, but he was also found it really scary. So he's up there one day, you know, farting around. I don't know what the hell he was doing up there specifically, looking for something like a screwdriver. I don't know. And he hears creaking, like someone's walking around. And he said that he felt like somebody was standing in there, like, watching him. And then, for some reason, this little detail was the creepiest thing to me in the whole episode. In the attic, and it's not even paranormal, in the attic, he finds a photograph, like an old photograph, that was torn in half, like a picture of a baby that was torn in half.
It's creepy.
And I was like, yeah, so if I found some shit like that, I would be weirded out. And he was weirded out. He's like, who the fuck tears a picture? Well, he didn't say that, but I mean, that's what I would have said. But he's like, who tears a baby's picture in half? And I'm like, right, exactly. That's why that's creepy. Like, to me, that's like super creepy if you found that. And like I said, it's not even paranormal.
There's some explanations, though.
Well, yeah, I'm sure, but...
Could have been a little kid found it, just mindlessly tore it. Could have been that...
Maybe Pookie did it.
Could have been that somebody found that picture. It was a picture of them as a little kid. And like, I looked like shit. Fucking
but what an ugly baby I was.
Yeah. It could have been a lot of things. It was the baby of somebody that they didn't like. Like, maybe it might have been a baby of somebody's stepdad. No, it was a baby picture of somebody's hated stepdad. Oh, that's him? Fuck him.
He sucked even as a baby.
He sucked even as a baby. Because I'd tear up pictures
baby.
I'd tear up baby pictures of my stepdad. No problem. I'd tear that shit up. I'd tear up pictures of his parents. I don't give a shit.
Zach says, well, we all know Pookie is Satan incarnate. I mean, she's a cute Satan, though. She does like to tear shit up. She loves paper. And she'll put her one paw down on one side and then, like, pull the rest of it up with her teeth. Like,
she'll attack a tablet in the middle of the night, and you're trying to listen to fucking YouTube, and she's fucking smacking a tablet because something moved on it. You gotta hide the tablet. And I said, leave the tablet alone. She loves tablets. And you give her another tablet you're not listening to, she's like, fuck that tablet. I want to fuck up your tablet.
I want yours.
Yeah.
She knows. She
knows. She goes, you're paying attention to that one, so I want that one. She doesn't want you paying attention to the tablet.
Right.
Stop looking at those little people. Looking into those lights. Stop looking at the light.
Yeah.
She doesn't understand it.
Yeah. Well, that's why she kind of gets mad sometimes and like scratches on the chair and stuff when we're doing the show, because it's like, you people are looking at the lights and you're not looking at me.
Yeah, you're looking at the lights and you're talking and nobody knows what you're saying.
Right.
I don't know what you're saying.
It's like, all I know is you're not paying attention to Pookie right now. Yeah. So he finds this picture that's like torn in half. That was a baby. And then the back of it, he says there was writing on the back of it that said Miss Liddell on it. And like I said, he thought that was pretty creepy and weird, which it is. I would think that was creepy and weird if I found it in the attic. And then he sees, this was also kind of creepy, I thought. This was like a good effect. He sees like this weird shadow. Like it's an attic, so it's kind of like that slanted wall ceiling situation. So he sees this weird shadow on the wall that looks like a person. Like it looks like the shadow of a person. And he's like, he thought at first that it was his shadow. And he's sitting there going, what the fuck? Like the light is really weird, like casting that shadow like that far away. And then he's like, but he started moving around and that didn't move. It just like stood there. Like it looked almost like a black shadow, like painted against the wall. But you know what I mean? Like a shadow, but there was nothing casting it. So, he's like, well, I'm just going to pretend I didn't see that. Maybe I'm just tired or something like that, even though it was pretty freaky. So Rebecca, meanwhile, also has been looking into the history of the house and discovers that Liddell, who presumably that's the picture that the baby was, died when she was 54 years old, and she OD'd. She committed suicide. So, like I said, a lot of people knew that in the neighborhood. It was kind of a famous story. So Rebecca is home alone one day, working on the house or whatever, while Mark is presumably at work, and starts hearing really, really heavy footsteps up in the attic. Now, she does not immediately think this is a ghost. She thinks, well, because they've had so many neighbors and shit like that, like farting around and wanting to come inside the house, she assumes that somebody has snuck into the house, like through the attic. So she thinks it's a person. So she kind of like hears somebody up there and she's like, well, shit. And so she runs and like closes the door like up to the attic and like pushes a chair up so they can't get out. Like if there's somebody up there, you know what I mean? But then like the footsteps stop. And then she's sitting there thinking, you know, maybe all of the shit that people are saying about this place being haunted, maybe that's actually true. Maybe there's not a person up there. Maybe it's a ghost fucking walking around. Now, they get to a point, too, where Mark was sitting there saying, this house, the renovations were costing way more than they expected. The electric bill was way higher than they were expecting. So it's like they were having a little bit of trouble with, money. Everything was a lot more expensive than they had anticipated when they bought the house, right? So basically, they're saying, again, like all of these people keep coming to the house. They said they had a 90-year-old woman show up on the doorstep one day wanting to come in. And then at that point, Rebecca's like, you know what? Why don't we she's like, Halloween is coming up. So why don't we just open the house to everybody on Halloween and like charge them to get in? She's like, we need money. So, and everybody wants to get in here. So why don't we just do that? Like, we'll raise some extra money. So we'll like charge everybody $5 to like come in here or something like that. So that's what they did. They decided they were going to open the house up on Halloween and let everybody run around in there. So they said, we thought we'd be lucky if we got like 50 people, something like that. They said 600 people showed up. They said there was a line around the fucking block to go into this house. And they actually had to hire a kid, like a student, to tour people around. You know what I mean? I think they hired a couple kids, actually. And they said it was crazy because some of the people, like, they were waiting in line to get in. And she's like, then it would be time for them to get in. And she's like, and they were, like, terrified to come in. Like, they thought some really bad shit was going to happen. She's like, it was fucking mind-blowing. So another guy that was on the show, like, the real person, his name was Shane Curry. And he was one of the students that they hired, like, to help them, like, give tours around the house or whatever. And at this point in the show, they kind of do a flashback because they show, like, the student and he's telling the tour group, hey, in case you don't know the history of the house, like, what happened here, this is what happened. So basically what happened was it was Christmas Eve of 1948. Now, Liddell's mom, who I think they said her name was Patty Allen, she's giving her annual big Christmas Eve party or whatever. Now, Liddell, who's there, she's like a grown woman. Like I said, she was in her 50s at this point. And seemed like real depressed, like real sad, but nobody really knew why. She wasn't like talking about it. And they're like, basically, the end of the party, she kind of like gets a little plate of hors d'oeuvres or whatever and like a little glass of punch. And she goes upstairs to her room and basically she put poison in her punch and drank it like on purpose and died. They said she didn't die immediately, actually, that she lingered for a while. Like, it took a week for her to die.
I know that, I think YouTube I think the AI algorithms fucking kind of don't want to talk about anything about fucking self-ending. I think even certain words are kind of hot spots. Don't think because you ingest something or any of these things, these toxic things, that's an easy way out. No. You need to read the fine print. That's a slow, miserable way. Bad, all right? Don't do it, all right? That's a girl's way, really, if you look at the statistics, because they think it's going to be easy. No, it's not. A lot of times the guy ways, which are violent and gruesome, they're instantaneous, a lot of them.
Yeah, you just kind of leave a mess for everybody.
You leave a mess, but, don't do it. It ain't worth it. It'll pass. Everybody fucking can stumble in a moment of weakness, but just you'll shake it off, even if it's something fucking horrendous. It might take years, but eventually you'll get through it. Don't worry about it. You were built to survive. Hey man, that light did change.
Yeah,
it did, and it's now blue.
Liddell's doing it.
Yeah. How did it fade to blue like that?
I don't know. Like, it does that randomly. Like, it's not just that one. Like, some of the other lights in the room, like, not often, but every now and then I'll just be sitting here, like, not even close to them or anything, and all of a sudden it'll go doot and, like, change color, and I'll be like, all right.
That is not in the program. They must be wearing out.
Maybe.
I mean, they've been on for years.
So. Yeah, I never turn them off.
Right.
I just leave them on.
They don't cost much. We'll get some more RGBs.
Yeah, they're not expensive.
Right.
I mean, they're cool to have, though, because it's like, I like all the colored lights and everything. Tammy said it's a ghost. Yeah, probably.
We'll buy no, I just think some of them are getting old. We leave them on 24/7.
Yeah, I mean, I always just leave them on it because it's too much of a pain to turn them off and on. And I like to be able to if I get up in the middle of the night, like to go to the bathroom or come get my phone or something like that. I like to have lights on so I can see where I'm going.
Yeah, and they were on 24/7, not just here, but at the old house.
Yeah, at the old house we left them on.
And I got strip lighting around certain fucking where the ceiling meets the floor. It was actually like white Christmas lighting that we used outside. I said, fuck that, I'm going to put that in the house.
Yeah.
So we use those kind of like night lights and stuff.
Yeah, they're like around the floorboards or whatever.
Yeah, and I got all these fucking cool-ass fucking projection effects on fucking walls and on ceilings. Most of the ceilings have laser and projection. Look like swirling galaxies and shit. And it's
that's what we have in the bedroom. I like that.
There were things that came out of my old gym and things that I collected, but I like lighting effects. And we don't really run real lights. We just use smart lights in the fixtures, and I'll change the colors or get them to pulsate. I like a lot of nightclub color amusement park.
Yeah, I'm not a real big fan of just regular lights.
I don't like direct lighting.
I kind of like darkness.
And because all this shit is like LED, it's real efficient in terms of you can leave it on. You're not really burning much electricity.
Yeah.
It doesn't fucking it doesn't pull much wattage.
Yeah. So yeah. So Liddell, like I said, she died in 1948, and thereafter her mom sealed up the room and wouldn't go in there like ever again. Like the room was sealed up for like many, many years. So back in the present, the tour group is now in this room where Liddell died. And the kid that was given the tour, said the lights started to flicker, and then they said that a shirt like flew out of the closet, like across the room, like that. And so everybody that was in the tour group, obviously they thought it was a gag. Like they thought, ooh, like how'd you do that? Or whatever, like is it on a wire or whatever? And Shane's like, yeah, we didn't do that. That just like did that by itself. We didn't set it up. They're like, go look. There's no wires in there or anything like that. So at that point, some of the people were just like, yeah, we're out. All right, that's enough ghosts for us this evening. And then one woman who was kind of like at the back of the tour group or whatever, she apparently was leaving the master bedroom, and she apparently saw an apparition of Liddell. And she told Mark this when she was leaving, but she was like super jazzed about it. She's like, I saw her. Like she was real excited. But she asked him, she's like, why is she so sad? Like, I guess her face looked really sad. Because nobody knew, like I said, that was kind of the big thing of the story, is like nobody knew like why she had killed herself, you know what I mean? So after the Halloween party, which apparently they made like some decent money and everybody got to see the inside of the house, it was win-win. So they kind of go back to their regular lives. But then one day, Rebecca is in the living room, I think, and she's like vacuuming. And they had this old, like, antique Victrola type situation. And they said it came on by itself. And it was one of the ones, it was, you know, one of the ones you had to crank. Like, it wasn't, you know what I mean? So it would just kind of come on by itself, and, like, the old-timey music would play and shit, which, you know, that's pretty creepy. So she decides she's going to go upstairs and tell Mark about this. Hey, the record player just came on by itself. But she goes up there, and she's in, like, the upper hallway or whatever, and she sees a woman. Like, she sees the ghost of a woman, like, standing there, who she assumes is Liddell. And she said that it felt like it was controlling her body for, like, 5 or 6 seconds. Like, because she kind of, like, went back, and then she kind of, like, fell on the floor, and she was like, what the fuck? And she was, she said it felt like Liddell was trying to tell her something.
Have some of that drink.
Yeah, because
You probably won't make it through there. Just want to freshen my shit up a little bit.
Well, don't take it all.
No, we're gonna take half.
Okay.
I can make more.
We
got a lot more.
Yeah, because I went and I got some orange juice, a whole thing of orange juice on the way home from work today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mark is like still not super convinced because he hasn't really seen anything all that definitive. But he does say, well, maybe we should, like, have a paranormal group come in here and investigate, like, and maybe we can get some proof that there is actually something going on in there. So they call this group, I think they said they were called Louisiana Spirits, even though this isn't Louisiana, this is Arkansas, but whatever. So the woman that they had on there, who was kind of like the head of the investigation or whatever, her name was Bess Maxwell, and she was the real lady, was on the show too. So she gets her team in there. Now, Mark and Rebecca are going to go out for the evening and leave the team there, like, to investigate. But Mark, he felt like, he said on the way out the house, like, he was walking down the stairs and he started feeling, like, really, really, dizzy or like some kind of weird like electrical charge or something like that, and it was like kind of weirding him out. So the team, they basically determine that the attic is the focal point of the haunting, which, you know, that's kind of like, they sort of knew that already. Mark did. They were up there, and like they said, the EMF meter was like going nuts up there. And while Bess, the head of the investigation, while she was up there, she said she heard a woman's voice saying the name Liddell like a couple of times. And, you know, there was nobody else in there, so obviously she's like, okay, well, that was some spirit activity then. So then there was, like, this other woman that was, like, another member of the team, whose name was Rachel, and she was in the master bedroom, and she said, well, it said that she heard a lady singing quietly, like, from far away, although on the show, it actually was just, playing the record again. Like, she heard the record that Rebecca heard earlier, so I don't know if it was the same, if she actually heard a lady singing or if it was just the record playing. And then they said while they were there, you know, it's nighttime when they're doing the investigation, and they said there was like white flashes, like it was like lightning, like all around the outside of the house, even though it wasn't storming out. And then all the power goes out, except for the audio recorders all stayed on for some reason. So the first thing they thought, well, maybe it was a transformer blew, like that's what the light was and stuff like that. But then they look out the window, and this house is the only one that doesn't have any power. Like, everybody else still has power, so obviously it couldn't be a transformer. And there's, like I said, there's no storm or anything. So Mark and Rebecca haven't even got to wherever the hell they were going. I assume they were going out to dinner or something like that. They were only, like, a few blocks from the house, and they get a call, like, from the team. And they're like, look, all the power went out, and it's just this house. So we don't really know what's going on. So Rebecca and Mark like go back to the house, and they go around the back, and a branch has coming off the tree and like fallen right on the power line. And they said, you know, yeah, that could have been a natural occurrence, but they're like, one, it wasn't storming, it wasn't windy, and the branch wasn't dead either. So they thought it was like kind of weird that it just happened to fall on this power line like right when they were starting to do the investigation or whatever. So at this point, they're like, well, we don't have any electricity, so obviously we can't do most of the shit we were going to do because, you know, obviously we need electricity for all these machines and shit. But a few days later, Bess plays some EVPs, because remember I said all the power went out, but for some reason the audio recorder stayed on, which they couldn't figure out. So she said, we got a bunch of EVPs, so she plays them for Mark and Rebecca. And she said that there was a bunch of voices on there, and they were responding in the moment, like because when they were playing it and when the power first went out and somebody said, oh, maybe it was a transformer, there was a voice saying not a transformer. That's what the voice said. So they said that there was a lot of things that seemed like the voice was answering them, or was like, you know, and she was specifying most of the hauntings she said that she investigated were residual hauntings, like they didn't answer your questions or anything like that, but she's like, this was a lot different to that because it seemed like she was answering questions or responding to people like in the moment, right?
How long have we been going?
43 minutes.
Do you want to run any commercials or anything like that?
No.
Okay, just check.
Just...
All right, people, super chats are active, and you can always give us a super thanks if you're listening to this recorded instead of live. Just letting you all know. I'm just passing the damn collection plate around in church. All right, go ahead.
Is that this?
Yeah,
we're very, very far from church.
Yeah. This is a different kind of church. We're
more
the church
fun.
of the sinners.
We're a lot more fun than church, that's for sure.
The church of the sinners.
But yeah, so Bess figures, well, this is probably Liddell talking, and she must want something, like she wants everybody to know, you know, why she did what she did, because everybody seems to like wonder about it. So not too long after this, Mark said that he woke up one morning, he said it was a Saturday, and he just, for no reason at all, felt compelled to go up to the attic. Even though, like I said, no rational reason for him to go up there. He's like, he just had a very, very strong feeling that he should go up there, like as soon as he woke up. So he goes up there, and he ends up being sort of drawn right to this spot. And it was like behind some wall boards, you know what I mean? Because it was kind of like the attic thing with, you know, the slanted ceiling or whatever, and it was just all these wood slats. And he was just drawn to this particular area, so he starts pulling the wallboards out. And he said he kept hearing like voices in his head telling him to like keep looking, keep looking. And he said he even thought that he felt like a hand on his shoulder, like trying to push him forward, like, yeah, you're doing the right thing or you're in the right spot or whatever. So he pulls out all these boards and finds this big brown envelope, and it was full of letters that were all addressed to Liddell, and they were all from 1948, the same year that she died. He said while this was all going on, it was like very surreal, like he felt like he was dreaming and stuff. And then like he's looking through the letters, and he looks up, and there's like a white light, and he hears somebody calling his name. And then it like, he's like, he sees Liddell for a second, but then like it morphs into Rebecca. So it's almost, so he said that it was almost kind of like Liddell was like, because he's like, I sure saw Liddell, but then like when he looked again, it was his wife. So he got the impression that Liddell was like using her energy to like show herself for a second or something like that. That's how he explained it. So these letters, after they read them, there are 82 letters in there. And apparently what was going on was that Liddell, who, like I said, had divorced when she was fairly young and had not remarried, presumably, she had this boyfriend, suitor, I guess they would have called it back then, named Prentice Hemingway Savage.
Motherfucker's name was Prentice, and he was straight. And he was straight.
Is that the most Victorian name that you've ever heard in your life? Prentice Hemingway Savage. That's pretty fantastic. Prentice.
Okay.
Yeah, with 2 S's. I'm presuming. That's usually how I see it spelled. You don't see too many people with a first name Prentice. I've seen Prentice like as a last name a lot, but it is a very weird first name. Maybe we should bring that back as a first name.
No. That'll never fly. That'll never fly.
Tom doesn't like that idea. So, yeah. So, apparently, old Prentice and Liddell had actually dated as teenagers, and then kind of drifted apart, married other people, blah-de-blah. But then, later on, when they were both older, they kind of, like, re-met and, like, rekindled their romance or whatever. Only problem with that was that Prentice was married at this stage. So I guess at one point they met up in Milwaukee, and I'm assuming they fucked, I'm just saying that there was like an affair going on.
Some hookup shit happened.
I think some hookup shit happened.
Yeah.
And apparently during this rendezvous, if you want to call it that, Prentice said he was going to leave his wife and marry her. Never, ever, ever believe a dude when he says that. Ever. They all say that. But they're never going to do it.
At least back in that era.
Yeah.
That was kind of like, you couldn't do a divorce back then.
I mean,
I think a lot of those dudes that talked that way in that era did want the divorce, but then they got the pussy, and then they're like, well, it wasn't that great.
Maybe it was.
Yeah, and then they're like, and then I'm going to ruin my reputation and this and that.
Yeah. Nah. I kind of think, well, and this guy, old Prentice Hemingway Savage, I feel like you have to say his whole entire name every time, like, because he's super pretentious and important. He was actually, at the time, was the vice president of Texaco. Yeah. So he was, like, very, very important, and I'm sure that, in the heat of the moment, he's like, oh yeah, I love you, I'm gonna marry you, I'm gonna leave my wife, yada yada. He cooled off. But then like when he thought about it, he's like, oh, like it would ruin my reputation, like everybody, like,
And then the wife will happen, and then she'll take some of my money, and
right.
And I guarantee you, he got the vajayjay.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, and it cooled him off.
Well, now, he did keep writing letters to her, like, after a long time, and he kept promising.
He was fantasizing. Right. He probably did want to go, but the costs were too great. Yeah. That's what the deal was with her. In that era. Today, he would have left her.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. But, I mean, it's much easier nowadays, which, like I said, that's good, because people aren't trapped into shit. But
you couldn't go where your heart desired back in those days.
Not really.
You just could. Not in the American Victorian era. No.
Yeah.
Most of the marriages were arranged too. Especially the richer you were, the less free you were. A lot of myths that you hear today. Oh, those rich people ran everything. Dude, everybody else was all just slaves. Now the rich people were more slaves than anybody else, because they couldn't even marry the people they wanted to marry. Their dads made them marry people. you know.
Yeah.
To form empires. It was the mistresses and shit that they chose. They didn't choose their wife.
Yeah.
In the South, me and Jenny are Southern. A rich dude, he loved his mistress, not his wife. The wife was just kind of forced on him. And the mistress was usually an octoroon mistress that came out of the damn Louisiana octoroon balls. That's where you got your real wife. And you raised children with her and gave her her own house and everything. And you had white women pretending to be octoroons to get that status. There's a whole culture of that there. But it's just the way it was back then. Nobody was really free. Just the social mores and shit were just too fucking strict for rich people. The only people that were free were poor people. Poor people were fucking free. They could do whatever they wanted.
They were free to starve in a gutter.
Yeah, but they could also just do whatever the fuck they wanted. They could become gunfighters or outlaws or hookers or whatever. And then, like, you know, if you were a poor woman, you wanted to be a hooker. Really. A real successful hooker. Not a regular one, but a real successful madam was rich and had fucking powerful fucking boyfriends like governors and shit.
Well, yeah, because they had the dirt on everybody.
They had the dirt on everybody.
So they had a lot of power.
And a cat house, a fucking high-class cat house, that had all the most powerful men in it every fucking night. And the madam was, like, on good terms with all these guys. She could have motherfuckers killed through these men. You know? There's all kinds of shit written about it in America. And they were rich. So, and rich and powerful. A good madam. More so than people realize today.
Yeah, I read a book a while back. It was not about the United States, but it was about England. But it was a similar kind of situation.
Yeah.
And it was about like 4 really famous madams, and yeah, it was exactly that. They actually had, you know, they had salons actually. Like all these powerful people, like all these most important writers and artists and stuff would come there and hang out. And it was just like, so they were really
being a lady of the evening was not the same connotation of today. There was no dating in that era. You couldn't date. And there were no nightclubs. The closest thing to that was a cat house. Madams and ladies of the evening. That's where the shit was going.
Social kind of.
Yeah, it was all social, and they had an underground power, you know. You went up against a fucking badass madam, your shit was fucking toast. Because she was sleeping with the governor, the fucking chief of police. She was doling out girls to all their parties and shit. She could do whatever she wanted. She was above the law. People don't realize it. Women had power. They always had power. But might not have been official power. That was the difference.
Well, yeah, you couldn't really talk about it.
No. But they had gangster power. Good ones.
So I guess what happened with old Prentice, like we were saying, was that he had written all these letters. Well, he wrote 82 letters. And they said that, you know, all these letters were all, you know, professions of love, and I swear I'm going to leave my wife and I'm going to marry you and you're awesome and you're the best thing ever and blah, blah, blah. And I guess for a while, like, Liddell believed this and was, like, waiting for him. So they think maybe what happened, after a while, like, the letters just kind of stopped coming. He, like, you know, it was like the early 20th century equivalent of ghosting somebody. Like, he just stopped writing. And I think they're surmising that she was expecting him to maybe, like, turn up, like, by surprise, like, at her, you know, her mom's Christmas party, which was, like, real famous every year. And so she was waiting to see if he would show up, and he didn't show up. And then she thought, well, I'm out. They think that that's probably what happened, because she's like, she was just sick of waiting and she didn't want to wait anymore. So that's what she did. So she just kind of gave up hope. So apparently, according to Mark and Rebecca Spencer, who, you know, allegedly, you know, found all these letters in the wall, and, you know, Mark later went on and wrote a book, like I said, in 2012 it came out, and where he talked about their experiences in the house, and he talked about, like, he reprinted all the letters and stuff. He thought that, or at least this is their story anyway, that they thought they had been drawn to this particular town and this particular house in order to tell Liddell's story to everybody, because she wanted everybody to know, and they were, like, the right people to do it for whatever reason. So, like I said, he wrote a book of, what did I say it was called? A Haunted Love Story. That's right, that goes to the Allen House, by Professor Mark Spencer, published in 2012. Which I haven't read. I've read, like, little bits of it, but you know what's interesting? I was reading another thing about this house, like, on another on another paranormal website. And they didn't mention this on the show, but apparently Mark and Rebecca, one of the things they saw, they didn't just see, or one of the things they claimed that they saw, they didn't just see like an apparition of presumably Liddell, but I read somewhere that they also saw doppelgangers of their own family members in the house, which that's fucking weird. I don't know why maybe they thought it would confuse the narrative, like if they put it in the episode, but I was like, I kind of would have liked that to be in there because that's like pretty fucking creepy, you know? Like, if you're walking around the house and see like your fucking, like your mom or some shit like that?
That's been reported before in a lot of what they would call hauntings.
Yeah.
Which, I've been looking at this case, and this is classic haunting.
It does,
It's not poltergeist.
Yeah, this didn't really have any poltergeisty type. I mean, other than like creaky noises and shirts flying across the room and shit like that. But it definitely did seem more like what they would call an intelligent haunting. Yeah. Like an actual person that had died there that was trying to like get a message across.
I've seen poltergeist, personally. So's Jenny. I've seen Bad House. And Bad House, I think, is just very mild haunting. But I've never seen a haunting like this. So I can't really comment. But when you're watching the program and you're hearing the witness testimony, they sound credible. They saw something, I think. I don't think they're just making it up.
Yeah, they didn't sound like lunatics. I mean, they could have known that the house was haunted ahead of time because it is quite famous, at least in that part of the country. And thought, hey, maybe we'll do like an Amityville horror thing and all that kind of stuff and like make some money off it. I don't know how much money they made off it. But a couple of other things that they did not mention was that I guess the lady that they bought the house from was, I think that she was actually, I don't know if she was actually like a, of the Allen family, because I know that I think it was Liddell's sister lived there for a while, and she was the one that had it sealed up, and she died in the 50s. But then they renovated the house and actually turned it into apartments that they rented out to people. So there had actually been tenants in there that reported paranormal activity, even going back to like a long time ago. Like they would take pictures and there'd be weird figures in there. Like, furniture would be rearranged.
So it's a long-term
shit
phenomenon.
like that. Yeah.
Something persistent.
And like I said, a bunch of people would report walking past the house and seeing a lady sitting in the window, just like Mark and Rebecca said that they saw. And I even saw, there was one site, I don't remember what site I got this from, but this one woman who was like a writer, she lived in one of the apartments, and she ended up writing a novel like that was sort of loosely based on it, called The Scent of Lilacs. But apparently there's kind of like, so all of these other paranormal groups, like I said, this is a fairly famous haunted house in the United States, particularly in that state, in Arkansas. And a lot of people have reported seeing an apparition, particularly of Liddell. Like they'll take a picture and she'll be in the photo, or they'll see her in a mirror or something like that. Some people have also said that they saw ghosts of 3 little girls, like in the house playing downstairs. They're presuming this might be Liddell and her 2 sisters when they were children. They're not really sure. And there's also, like, a lot of people have heard footsteps, crying, things like that. And there was one couple that lived in one of the apartments when it was apartments for a while. And they said that they had a thing where they were trying to open the closet door, but they couldn't open it. It felt like somebody was like holding it shut, like from the other side. Yeah. And they also heard giggling, shit like that. So it was all that kind of stuff. So that apparently the master suite, like where Liddell had died, it had been closed up. Like I said, it was closed up for like 30 something years. And when a new owner took over, they opened the thing up, and it's like they said there was still a bottle of cyanide like sitting in there that she had used, which, that's a bad way to go. But yeah. So Mark and Rebecca, like I said, moved in. Now, this thing said 2007. I think on a haunting they said 2005, so I'm not really sure like what the timeline is about that. But like I said, they said that they saw their own family members in there, and they did see hear the thing about the Victrola and everything like that. But yeah, so they were the ones that found the letters, and then they wrote a book about it. So there's that. So like I said, this is a pretty famous case, pretty famous haunting. I don't know if it really happened or not, but it's kind of a neat story anyway.
It fits the pattern of what you would call classic haunting.
Yeah.
I've never seen classic haunting. I don't know if they exist or not personally, but my friend Steve Mera, who's a parapsychologist and paranormal investigator, Jenny's written some books with him. He says it does. That it does exist. Based on his studies, I'm not sure if he's actually seen classic haunting at this level. I have to recall if he's actually witnessed it himself. But it could have happened. It could have happened. I don't think they're making it up. But for me to be a true believer, I'd have to see it myself.
Yeah, same.
You know what I mean?
Because I'm very, very skeptical, especially of ones like this that are like a dead person that's like trying to communicate with you and you see them and shit like that. I'm like, that's pretty far out there.
If you wanted to see a haunting, this sounds like maybe a good place to go and do an investigation to see if you can see one.
I'm not sure who owns the place now.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that other paranormal groups have gone and like investigated, so I'm presuming that whoever owns it is like pretty open to having people in there and like filming shows and stuff.
The clips of the witnesses sounded credible. They sounded credible to me. I think it didn't sound like they were lying. Sounded like they believed what they were saying. But like I said, I got to see it.
Yeah.
I've seen some wild shit. I know it's real because I saw it. So I know wild shit's out there, but I've never quite seen this phenomenon.
No, me neither.
I'm not gonna say it doesn't exist. It may. Maybe it does. If I went and saw the shit and it was real, it wouldn't surprise me that much. It was like, okay, I guess that's real too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty freaky. I'd be pretty freaky.
Yeah. I've never seen an apparition of what looked like a living person. I've
or
seen
like a recognizable
human form. I haven't seen it. I just saw blue hazes and kind of like a round ball, I guess, a clear round ball of fucking almost like a monkey wave or distortion above the top of a road. When you look directly at it, you didn't see it, but if you looked a little bit to the side, you could see it. It's like something that your peripheral vision could pick up better than the center parts where where all your rods and cones are. There was nothing there. But if you looked a little bit to the side, you could see like a round distortion, and you felt like you were being watched from that. And it was up in the corner of the room up near the ceiling. Me and Red would be like, "You see that?" And I go, "Yeah, I see it." But you got to look to the side. We're like, yeah, it's weird. You can't look directly at it. And they were like, it's watching us. Yeah, shit like that. Yeah. Read Mammoth Mountain Poltergeist. I tell the whole story.
Danny Rolling says Mammoth Mountain Polterthrust.
Yeah. Mammoth Mountain Polterthrust.
We're
going to do it.
That's going to be the porn version.
On that.
That's good. Oh, that's good. That's a good idea, actually. We should do like a theme like that, because we're thinking of like different ideas and stuff to do.
Yeah. I'm fucking back on the back doggy style. I'm hitting and all of a sudden this damn fucking dildo flying out of the fucking trying to peg me. I'm trying to fucking
oh my god, that would be
shit
so, like that would be so funny.
It. Jenny's got a CG fucking dick chasing me.
Oh my god, how is he gonna figure out how to do that? That'd be fucking hysterical.
You got dudes on StreamMate trying to pay to see it happen. All kinds of shit happen. Yeah.
If we did that on a live stream, we would have to like rig it beforehand, so it's like put them on like some fucking fishing line or something. So it's like you have like a dildo floating through the background.
You haven't been watching the show.
That'd be funny as shit.
You haven't been watching the show.
That'd be funny.
What I'm talking about is we were at the club the other night, and our friend Dimitri and his wife Jen. I've showed you guys to them before. They have some experience in the adult industry world, but not as performers in that way. But he's like, you're gonna stream mate? He goes, yeah. You be Cam, and he goes, what if some dudes raised a bunch of money to fucking have Jen peg you in the ass? Are you gonna do it?
That was literally the first thing he asked.
The first thing that comes to his mind because that's the fucking.
And I was like, funnily enough, we were just discussing that.
He's from the fetish world, so he knows how fucking weird some of this shit can happen. He's DJ'd at fucking high caliber fetish events in mansions where dudes are bringing their wives to pimp them out to fucking rich dudes in these big fucking weird fetish fucking things. And he's like, dude, man, you fucking around.
Eyes wide shut.
Yeah, eyes wide shut. His wife is beautiful, Jen. He wasn't. Oh, wait, hold on. That sounded weird. He wasn't pimping her out. He was DJing.
Yeah.
There. Okay. But yeah,
that sounded weird. We had to clarify that.
Clear that up. But she was like, he instantly jumped to shit like, dude, you know they're gonna fucking try to push boundaries. But here's the thing, you can always say no.
Yeah.
But he's like, but dude, what if they keep throwing a bunch of money at you? And I'm like going, and he's like, and I was like, no, dude. And he goes, oh, so if they throw $1 million at you, you ain't gonna do it? And I'm going, well, $1 million is what it is. See?
Everyone has a price, Tom.
See? You see? And he goes, they could crowdsource that shit. You could have a motherfucker in a chat who's a billionaire who likes Jenny and wants to see her fucking peg you in the booty because he's bi and wants to see you take it. Wants to see you lose your virginity. And I was like, yeah, but I went, that's $1 million though.
Well, and the thing is, if it was
$1 million,
hypothetically, if it was $1 million, you'd only have to do it once.
You had to do it once, yeah.
Because then you'd have $1 million.
So I'm trying to rationalize.
You could retire.
I'm trying to rationalize. I'm going like, well, I was a fucking soldier in the infantry. Fucking dudes would get captured by the fucking VC or by the Iraqis and they'd rape them. You know what I mean? Fucking, which that was some shit that y'all don't know about. During the first Gulf War, some of them pilots that got down for bombing fucking Baghdad and shit, the ones that they kept in them damn little fucking cages and shit, they were raping them. They didn't tell you that, but they were. You didn't want to be a downed pilot. Those dudes were pissed off because we were fucking killing millions of people, fucking bombing fucking Iraqi shit. Anyway, so I'm like, yeah, fucking a soldier, you might get raped, fucking. I'm like, the thing is, it's just Jenny, and they're giving you $1 million.
That's what I mean. It's not like it's some rando.
Yeah.
It's just me.
So anyway, fuck off. But I took his point. I'm like, yeah, okay. I know what you're saying.
I just thought it was very funny that the second, like literally a second after
that was the first thing he said.
That was the first thing he asked.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like so funny because we had literally just been talking about like this the night before.
It must have happened to him. It must have happened to him.
Because that was like the first, it was like a second. That was like the first thing he asked.
This is what, from here on out, every time I do a Dimitri, I'm going, I know what happened to you.
I know what happened to you.
I'm not going to hurt you. Okay? I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to let those men hurt you. I'll protect him.
Shit. Oh my God.
You ready to go?
I guess so.
All right.
All right. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed a Haunting Mondays today about the Allen house with a little bit at the end here with our usual thing. But, so tomorrow night you're probably going to bike night, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And then I'm going to do some other stuff. And then Wednesday night, it'll be a good show Wednesday night. This was a recommendation that somebody gave me, and this was actually a great idea. We're going to do a revisit on the Hwaseong serial killer case from South Korea. Now, we did a show about this years ago. We didn't do a whole show about it because I think we did 2 South Korean cases. We did Hwaseong and then we did the Frog Boys. But someone informed me, I didn't even fucking know this, but the Hwaseong serial killer case has been solved. They caught the guy.
Huh.
So after all this time, like in 2019, 2020, they came out and announced that they had caught him. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to revisit that, do a deep dive on that. So if you don't know about that case, like I said, it was a famous case that happened in South Korea, serial killer. If you've seen the Bong Joon-ho movie, Memories of Murder, which is an amazing, amazing movie, by the way, came out in 2003. And I really recommend it if you like murder mysteries and thrillers and stuff. It was kind of based on that. Like, it's pretty closely based on the Hwaseong, but he hadn't been caught at that time. But he's been caught now. So, so we're going to do a revisit on that. So that should be a good show. So that's Wednesday night. So hopefully you guys can come by and see that. And, so have a good rest of your evening, you guys. Have a good day tomorrow, whatever it is that you're doing. And we will see you again on Wednesday night. Good night.